Hello and welcome. Today, we begin an in-depth journey into one of the most influential texts in human history, the Bible. This sacred text has shaped civilizations, inspired countless individuals, and provided guidance, reflection, and moral frameworks for thousands of years. Whether you approach it from a spiritual, historical, or cultural perspective, understanding the Bible offers a unique insight into human nature, ethical conduct, and the profound questions of existence that have fascinated people across generations. The Bible is composed of two main sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Together, they encompass a collection of books written over centuries, reflecting diverse historical contexts, cultures, and authors. The Old Testament, often called the Hebrew Bible, contains narratives, laws, poetry, prophecies, and wisdom literature. It chronicles the experiences of the ancient Israelites, their relationship with God, and the moral and spiritual lessons they derived from those experiences. Through stories of faith, struggle, obedience, and human imperfection, the Old Testament provides timeless guidance on morality, responsibility, and the consequences of our actions. In contrast, the New Testament focuses primarily on the life, teachings, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, as well as the formation and development of early Christian communities. The New Testament highlights the themes of love, grace, forgiveness, and the transformative power of faith. Together, the Old and New Testaments provide a comprehensive framework for understanding both historical events and spiritual truths. They invite readers to reflect on their own beliefs, values, and actions. The Old Testament begins with the book of Genesis, which describes the creation of the world and the origins of humanity. Stories such as Adam and Eve explore the nature of human choice, responsibility, and imperfection. Noah's Ark illustrates the importance of faith, obedience, and perseverance under divine guidance. The narratives of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob depict the formation of covenants, loyalty, and trust in God. While the story of Joseph emphasizes resilience, patience, and the ultimate triumph of integrity over adversity. Following Genesis, the Old Testament continues with the story of Moses, whose leadership in guiding the Israelites from slavery in Egypt to the Promised Land serves as a powerful example of courage, determination, and faith. The giving of the Ten Commandments highlights principles of ethical behavior, social responsibility, and moral integrity, which continue to resonate across centuries. Books such as Joshua and Judges recount the trials, victories, and challenges faced by the Israelites as a nation, illustrating lessons in leadership, obedience, and trust in divine guidance. Throughout the Old Testament, we encounter numerous figures who provide moral and spiritual lessons. Ruth demonstrates loyalty and faith, while Samuel serves as a prophet and leader, navigating complex ethical and spiritual dilemmas. The story of David and Goliath portrays courage, faith, and strategic thinking, while Solomon exemplifies wisdom, discernment, and moral leadership. Poetry and wisdom literature, including the Psalms, Proverbs, and Job, offer reflective insights into human emotions, devotion, and ethical living. These texts provide guidance on maintaining faith and integrity, even during trials and adversity. The Old Testament also establishes enduring principles about justice, compassion, and human responsibility. It explores the consequences of both obedience and disobedience, providing narratives that teach ethical lessons while also offering hope and encouragement. Through historical accounts, moral teachings, and poetic reflections, the Old Testament creates a rich tapestry of human experience, connecting readers to the struggles, aspirations, and spiritual insights of the ancient Israelites. As we continue exploring the Old Testament, it becomes clear that the stories, laws, and wisdom literature are not just historical records. They are deeply instructive narratives designed to guide, challenge, and inspire readers. The experiences of individuals and communities illustrate the importance of faithfulness, moral responsibility, and perseverance. For example, the challenges faced by Abraham in leaving his homeland and trusting God's promises highlight the significance of faith and obedience in shaping one's destiny. Similarly, Jacob's journey, with its moments of struggle, reconciliation, and divine encounter, teaches valuable lessons about resilience, personal growth, and trust in God's guidance. The narrative of Joseph is particularly striking. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, Joseph faces immense trials and uncertainties. Yet, through integrity, patience, and faith, he rises to a position of influence. Ultimately, he uses his circumstances to save many lives during a time of famine. This story exemplifies the enduring power of virtue, the role of providence, and the ways in which human perseverance can intersect with divine purpose. It is these layered stories, combining human experience with moral and spiritual insight, that make the Old Testament both a compelling historical record and a source of timeless lessons. Moving forward, the story of Moses and the Exodus is one of the central pillars of the Old Testament. Moses' leadership, the liberation of the Israelites from slavery, and the reception of the Ten Commandments highlight themes of courage, justice, obedience, and divine guidance. These events are not merely historical. They carry profound moral and spiritual significance, illustrating how individuals and communities can navigate ethical challenges, maintain faith, and uphold principles of justice and righteousness. Books such as Joshua, Judges, and Samuel continue to explore these themes. They present narratives where leadership, faith, and moral decision-making intersect. They depict the challenges faced by communities striving to live according to divine instruction, the consequences of moral failures, and the rewards of integrity and courage. Figures like Ruth demonstrate steadfast loyalty and moral clarity. David exemplifies courage, strategy, and faith even in the face of overwhelming odds. Solomon's wisdom, as recounted in Proverbs, provides enduring guidance on practical living, ethical discernment, and the importance of humility and understanding. Poetic and reflective texts, including the Psalms and Job, offer insights into human emotion, devotion, and spiritual perseverance. They provide a space for reflection, meditation, and moral introspection. Through prayers, lamentations, and reflections on suffering and divine justice, these writings allow readers to grapple with complex emotions and ethical dilemmas while maintaining faith and integrity. They encourage an ongoing dialogue between the individual, their community, and the divine, fostering spiritual growth and resilience. As we approach the transition from the Old Testament to the New Testament, it is important to recognize how the two sections are interconnected. The Old Testament lays the foundation for understanding God's covenant, ethical principles, and the moral and spiritual framework that the New Testament will build upon. While the Old Testament emphasizes law, covenant, and historical experience, the New Testament shifts focus toward grace, forgiveness, and the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. Together, they provide a comprehensive understanding of human experience, divine guidance, and moral reflection. Now, having explored the rich narratives, moral lessons, and historical context of the Old Testament, we turn our attention to the New Testament. The New Testament centers on the life, teachings, and legacy of Jesus Christ, as well as the early Christian communities that followed him. It is not only a historical account, but also a spiritual guide, offering profound insights into love, compassion, forgiveness, and the transformative power of faith. The New Testament begins with the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These four books provide complementary perspectives on the life and ministry of Jesus. Each Gospel presents unique details, themes, and emphases, giving readers a multifaceted understanding of his teachings and actions. While the Old Testament often emphasizes law, covenant, and moral accountability, the New Testament emphasizes grace, redemption, and the fulfillment of divine promises through Jesus Christ. The Gospels recount key events such as the birth of Jesus, fulfilling ancient prophecies, and highlighting the significance of his coming as a transformative figure. We encounter John the Baptist, a prophet and messenger who prepares the way for Jesus. The baptism of Jesus signifies the beginning of his public ministry. It also demonstrates the importance of spiritual dedication and obedience to God's will. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus teaches through parables. These are simple yet profound stories that convey deep moral and spiritual lessons. For example, the story of the Good Samaritan emphasizes compassion and empathy for all people, regardless of social or cultural boundaries. The prodigal son illustrates forgiveness, repentance, and the power of unconditional love. Through these narratives, readers are invited to reflect on their own lives, moral choices, and relationships with others. The New Testament also recounts miraculous events, such as the healing of the sick, the feeding of the 5,000, and walking on water. These miracles are not merely demonstrations of divine power. They serve as illustrations of faith, courage, and the deep connection between spiritual belief and human action. Jesus' ministry emphasizes that moral conduct, compassion, and faith are interconnected and essential for personal growth and communal harmony. Central to the New Testament is the account of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. The crucifixion represents the ultimate sacrifice, a profound demonstration of love, forgiveness, and obedience to divine purpose. The resurrection embodies hope, renewal, and the victory of faith over suffering and death. Following the Gospels, the Acts of the Apostles and letters written by apostles such as Paul document the early growth of the Christian community. They highlight the importance of faith in action, communal support, ethical guidance, and the courage to uphold principles even in the face of persecution. These texts demonstrate how early followers of Jesus applied his teachings to daily life, establishing a foundation for Christian practice and moral reflection. The New Testament reminds readers that faith is an ongoing journey. It combines instruction, inspiration, historical narrative, and reflective guidance, encouraging individuals to live ethically, act compassionately, and maintain spiritual mindfulness. By exploring both the Old and New Testaments, one can see how continuity, moral vision, and spiritual depth shape the Bible as a timeless text that continues to guide, educate, and inspire people across cultures and generations. Continuing with the New Testament, it is essential to delve into the key events and teachings that define its message and influence. At the heart of the New Testament are the life, ministry, and moral lessons of Jesus Christ, whose actions and words shaped the early Christian community and continue to inspire believers today. One of the first major themes is the ministry of Jesus. His teachings often challenged existing social norms and emphasized love, humility, and service to others. The parables, such as the lost sheep and the sower, convey profound moral and spiritual lessons. They teach compassion, patience, and the importance of nurturing faith. Through these stories, Jesus presents ethical principles in ways that are memorable, relatable, and deeply impactful. Miracles also play a central role in the New Testament. Accounts of healing the sick, calming storms, feeding the multitudes, and other extraordinary acts illustrate the interconnectedness of faith, divine guidance, and human action. These miracles are not simply displays of power. They are meant to inspire trust, courage, and perseverance in the face of challenges. They show how faith can transform both individuals and communities. Another cornerstone of the New Testament is the relationships Jesus built with his disciples. These 12 men, chosen from ordinary backgrounds, were mentored, guided, and tasked with spreading his teachings. Their experiences highlight themes of loyalty, learning, moral growth, and leadership. Observing their struggles and successes offers valuable lessons about the responsibilities of following ethical principles. The Sermon on the Mount encapsulates much of Jesus' ethical teaching. Principles such as humility, mercy, righteousness, and peacemaking are emphasized. The Beatitudes provide insight into spiritual priorities and the moral character expected of those who follow his path. Central to Christian belief is the account of Jesus' crucifixion, death, and resurrection. These events demonstrate profound sacrifice, forgiveness, and hope. The crucifixion teaches about the cost of moral integrity and unconditional love. The resurrection embodies renewal, faith, and the triumph of spiritual principles over suffering. The New Testament also includes letters and writings by early apostles such as Paul. These letters provide practical guidance for living a life of faith, ethical conduct, and community engagement. They discuss moral behavior, spiritual growth, interpersonal relationships, and the importance of faith-driven action. Finally, the New Testament reminds readers that faith is an ongoing journey. It combines instruction, inspiration, historical narrative, and reflective guidance. It encourages individuals to live ethically, act compassionately, and maintain spiritual mindfulness. By exploring both the Old and New Testaments, one can see how continuity, moral vision, and spiritual depth shape the Bible as a timeless text. It continues to guide, educate, and inspire people across cultures and generations. As we bring this first video to a close, it's important to reflect on what we have covered. We have explored the overall structure of the Bible, the distinction between the Old and New Testaments, and the themes, narratives, and teachings that make this sacred text so influential. From the ancient stories of the Old Testament, covering creation, the patriarchs, the Exodus, and the wisdom literature, to the life, teachings, miracles, and moral guidance of the New Testament, the Bible presents a rich tapestry of human experience, spiritual insight, and ethical reflection. The Old Testament teaches us about obedience, faith, moral responsibility, and the consequences of human choices. Its stories and laws provide a foundation for understanding God's covenant with humanity and the enduring principles that guide ethical living. Meanwhile, the New Testament emphasizes love, grace, forgiveness, and the transformative power of faith. It brings forward the teachings of Jesus Christ, showing how moral principles can be applied in everyday life. It highlights how compassion and empathy are central to human interaction. And it demonstrates how spiritual resilience can help overcome life's challenges. By examining both testaments together, we gain a comprehensive view of the Bible as a guide for personal growth, ethical decision-making, and spiritual reflection. We see the continuity of moral and spiritual lessons across time. And we see how these teachings continue to influence individuals and societies even today. Whether one approaches the Bible from a religious perspective or simply as a historical and cultural document, its narratives and insights remain deeply relevant. In the next video, we will begin to explore the key differences between the Old Testament and the New Testament. We will focus on their distinct themes, purposes, and approaches to conveying God's message. We will see how each testament addresses human experience, morality, and faith in unique ways. Understanding these differences will enrich our comprehension of the Bible as a whole. Thank you for joining this first step in our journey through the Bible. Remember, each story, each lesson, and each passage carries layers of meaning that are worth exploring carefully. Take your time, reflect on what you have learned, and prepare to continue this exploration in our next video, where the depth and richness of the Bible will be revealed even further.